Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. Today, I am with Bitcoin Birch, Kyle, and BTC Jack Sparrow. I'm your co-host, the Bitcoin Broski. We have got really one thing to talk about that is on everyone's mind today, and that is this Bitcoin dump that we are all experiencing. But guys, how has your morning been so far?
Painful. Interesting. Trying to figure out what's up and down.
Yo, I'm so on tilt right now. I'm so on tilt right now over fucking cryptocurrency and goddamn Bitcoin. I tell you what, I probably share the sentiment of a lot of the listeners and the viewers out there, just because we eat, sleep, and breathe this, and we love our baby. And even though I think, we've done a good job with risk management. I'm not personally overexposed more than I wanted to be. You just hate to see it, right? So now we gotta stand up. We gotta come together, and we gotta figure out what the hell we're gonna do next.
Yeah. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing all right. Ultra wrecked, and I think Joel's right. We just gotta create a plan moving forward and act on that plan and get after it. So.
We've made a lot of money shorting this year. And we've been historically successful buying support at 6K and around that range. And so for this most recent time to really start to flip a little bit more bullish, kind of crypto does what crypto does, right? And it's kind of stopped running right here. And now the question is this capitulation? Is this... We're going to talk a lot about the volume. We're going to look at the technicals, guys. We all know the fundamentals. So we're going to spend this show looking at the technicals and talking to our podcast listeners through the technicals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to realize, guys, obviously none of us are financial advisors. None of what we're saying is financial advice. We are all playing this market along with most of you that are watching. So what we share is just our opinions based on how we see things playing out over the next weeks, months, years. But I think this may be just. I kind of blame Tone Vase for all this. I think this is just the result of his short getting closed.
Savagery,
dude. It couldn't have happened to a nicer person, So
he got. I don't have any problems with Tone whatsoever. I've been I've had fun hanging out with him and getting to know him. He's a quirky dude, but he obviously got a bad rap for shorting the bottom. And turned out to be a pretty smart play. I mean, he got real life stop run. He got manually stop run by Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes was like, nah, wow, dump, savage.
Boom.
Yeah, dude. Well, his account got closed, didn't it?
Oh, we lost.
Yeah, his account got closed, and he responded that he had to close that short because of course there was some smartass who wanted to say, haha, well, what about your short that he said he was going to keep open? He said he had to close it. 2 days later, it made him look really smart. So
now listen, it was a one Bitcoin short. It was a one Bitcoin short. So all right. I mean, it would have been a decent trade. It was low leverage, whatever. So let's kind of talk through. Let me share if you don't mind, and let me share my kind of quick experience, just so that way maybe it helps somebody. At least the way that I was thinking and the way that I'm justifying not feeling as bad right now, right? So the only place that I'm really on tilt about right now is with leverage trading. We'll say hypothetically the exchange I use is BitMEX, testnet. With leverage trading, it's the reason I'm on tilt about this current movement is because I was on the wrong side of it. And I make the money that I make trading with leverage is that's what it's the fun part of it. This is a bear market. The projects I really care about, I'm wrecked on like everyone else. I'm holding a bunch of Bitcoin offline. I'm wrecked on that. So all I have left in this market is the little bit of volatility that we can try to catch on some of these alts and on Bitcoin. And so my whole portfolio is relatively unchanged outside of the USD value, but from a Bitcoin value. But I had a long open. I had a 5x low leverage. Well, that's actually pretty high leverage, but I had it's low leverage shots in crypto. I had a 5x long open from 63.50 or somewhere in that range that I was going to hold till 20K. I told everyone I'm holding this till 20K. My liquidation price wasn't until 57.50 roughly. And so I said, listen, I know it can dump. I know that Bitcoin can dump. If it does and comes down to 5,800, I'm going to add to my long and try to bring my liquidation price like closer to $4,000. And I'll just keep doing that. And that way, eventually, when we run back to all-time highs, I'll make a ton of money, because the upside from 6K to 20 is massive. The downside from 6K to 4K is a lot less. So the way I saw it was, listen, if I short here, which might be the obvious play, whatever, if I short here instead of taking this low leverage long, if we crush it and it goes to 4K, I'll make like 150% on like a few Bitcoin positions. So I'll make a couple of Bitcoin, and now that Bitcoin's only worth 4K. So even though I'm making a couple of Bitcoin, I'm making Bitcoin that's worth a lot less money. And because this is money that I actually cash out and I actually like live my life with, I was like, it's an $8,000 trade, right? But if we pump to 20K, it's a $200,000 trade. So I'm really on tilt, because I know it's going back to 20K, and I know I'm not going to catch that long, and it's really going to piss me off for the rest of the day. So that's my Wrecked story here on this episode of Wrecked Podcast with Bitcoin Bravado.
So, and for this show, guys, for those of you that are tuning in, thank you for continuing to join us. I want you to know this is definitely a different format than we usually do. We want you guys to be interactive. If you have questions, comments, you're wrecked as well, let us know. Jump in the convo. We're here to just kick it for 45 minutes and have a good time and kind of break away from the morose motherfuckerness that we got going on for the rest of the day dealing with these dumpy markets.
All right, so we're going to take a look at total market cap and alt market cap and Bitcoin. We're going to start looking at the technicals. All right, so now we know we're wrecked. Anyone else have any other short stories we want to share before we hop into how we're going to play it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, nothing much has changed. I got a bunch of I have some fiat on the sideline. I have my Bitcoin that I use on BitMEX, and then I have my long-term alt positions that, at this point, the ones that I'm still keeping, I'm not going to sell them. I picked them because I think they're fundamentally strong and they will thrive at a certain point, or not, but at least one of them will do excessively better than the rest, which hopefully, at a certain point in the future will perform well. What is annoying, though, is that we put out trades every day and we were overly exposed on the long side, and we got wrecked on these positions. We got stop lost on almost all of them. These trades, like Birch said, are well protected. The stop losses were in place. The risk was managed. We didn't lose a lot on our entire portfolio. But running a community like this and providing entries to people and losing money on those trades is really tough to handle emotionally. It's going to make you doubt yourself. It's going to make you question whether you're on the next wick down, whether you're going to buy. So a part of what we're going to talk about, besides fundamentals and not fundamentals, technicals, is how to manage your emotions when these kind of things happen and prepare yourself to actually be ready to buy that potential dip. So I'll try to weave that in where I can.
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to.
Did you have something you wanted?
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle. Jump in.
Yeah, I guess I think Ronnie's right. That's honestly what's hurting me the most this morning is the fact that, and I'm a little sick, guys. Sorry, so if I get a little scratchy. We're managing this community and we're trying to put out the best content possible for them. And when we don't deliver, it makes it doubly hard than just our own personal wealth being affected by these markets. What I'm doing right now, what I did right when I woke up this morning, which I woke up a little late, but I just got on BitMEX, and I know I always have enough Bitcoin on BitMEX so that I can hedge my alt positions. So some of my alt positions hit stop losses, but a lot of the alt positions had BTC stop losses. So my crypto exposure didn't really change. My alt exposure changed, but my overall crypto exposure didn't. So the primary reason I keep a good amount of Bitcoin on BitMEX is so that I can wake up this morning, log in, be like, okay, I have X amount of Bitcoin exposure on these different exchanges. Let's throw in a 5X short so that if there's any more downside that occurs, I will make, I will be at least hedged in that extent. So that's what I did this morning. So right now, hypothetically, it's not going to be perfect down to the dollar, but I should be hedged so that regardless of price action, I will not be affected by any more sell-off or even a bounce back. And that's the way I want it to be, because on a day like today, I need to clear my head for a few hours before I can really assess things. And then once I'm able to assess them, then I can start to position myself on how I think the market will play out. But for right now, I just like to use that hedging tool to kind of give myself time to take a deep breath or whatever, so that's what I'm thinking.
Thanks. Oh, we lost Broski.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Broski. Start again.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, I mean, with me, obviously, I play shit coins more than anything. And fortunately, in situations like this, they don't dump as much in value because of the low liquidity. So generally, they have an effect where they'll dump after something like this. So I would expect some dumpage on my coins in the next 12 to 24 hours as people are actually able to get out of some of those positions. But fortunately, most of my portfolio has been holding strong. I know Zach mentioned that in our comments, talking about how he's holding a lot of small caps. Small caps tend to just hold their value a little bit better when Bitcoin dumps because there's not as much volume. So people can't get in and out of them, so they don't even try.
Yeah, and for those who are newer or maybe tuning in for the first time, whether it be listening on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, thanks again for hopping on. One consistent thing that you should know is that for the majority of 2018, we were fairly inactive from a trading standpoint and held very little exposure to altcoins. That changed a little bit mid-year around March and April, and then changed again in August. So we don't have bags from January or February on average between us. Most of the positions that we've all taken recently have been around August or September time. So what I've seen on like, I bought some bags of like MCO and things like that we've talked about. And I'm either down 10 or 15% from what I saw going through my portfolio this morning on those longer term holds that when I bought them, I was thinking, hey, this is closer to the bottom of the top. These are ones I want to hold in 2019. Or I'm back to even because a lot of them did actually have 150, 200% run up. So what I've seen on a lot of the mid cap and smaller cap altcoins is if you look at some of those charts, XRP is even another good example. They haven't fully retraced even back to August or September, right? They're actually just, they've retraced back the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so a lot of altcoins don't look too bad. So someone asked if we have any alts for the long haul. Obviously, we all have our own plays, but I think by default, I think we all have some offline altcoin exposure. So, alts don't look quite as bad.
Agreed.
It depends. The smaller and mid caps, the large caps look really bad. Like Ethereum Classic's down to like 850 or something US. That's a coin that I bought at 12, thinking it was a good price for that coin. But to see it at 8 really hurts. I think these are bags that you have to ask yourself, are you going to dollar cost average? Are you going to, if you bought Ethereum Classic at $12 and now it's 8, are you going to buy more and try to bring your average entry down closer to $9 or $10 and try to reduce your reduce your losses and hopefully increase your upside? For me, it's a no. That's going to be a no for me, dog, because I only have about 20% more fiat, like Tether, left from February. So I'm not ready to spend that on bags that I'm currently holding underwater. I'm kind of just going to ride some of these out right now.
So do you guys think that this is capitulation? Do you guys think that that's where we're at as far as the market cycle right now?
It's difficult to say. What I'm really confused
Jack, give us a walkthrough, Jack, on your screen. Share your screen while you talk through capitulation, and show the volume. And then walk the podcast through the podcast listeners through it.
So what was really interesting today is once we started to move down, like we were above $6,000, and we slowly started to move. There was not too much volume, and actually we didn't see much volume occur until we reached like the $5,500, like $5,600 range. And so this entire initial move of like $600 was not sustained by a lot of volume. And it's really hard to see from the 3-day chart that we're currently looking at. But if we zoom in a little bit to the daily chart, we see that the current daily volume, and like we probably got like 6 hours left on the day, is not extremely high. It's on BitMEX.
Not at all.
On BitMEX, it's probably half of what we would have seen on moves in, for example, July. And the moves in July were a lot smaller with the same amount of volume. So we're looking at BitMEX. So it could be that some people left BitMEX, but I've looked at other charts, other exchanges as well, and we're kind of seeing the same thing happen there. So
well, BitMEX is also an index between 3 exchanges, right? So that's kind of why I like to use BitMEX to evaluate both volume and price action, because it has the most volume and it has I think the truest price. So
the question is like, it really depends on the amount of leverage that's being used, because the actual money involved is not the actual volume that's being traded on BitMEX. On BitMEX, if the average leverage is 10x, the amount of volume that's being displayed on BitMEX is actually 10 times less, like the money from the people that are actually trading. So then if we zoom in to the 4 hour, we see this giant 4 hour volume here. But if we zoom further in, we see that most of that started occurring in the bottom of, like, when we started to hit 5,600, 5,500. That's where a lot of volume came in. And actually right now, there's still a lot of volume buying it up. So it's interesting. We didn't see a lot of volume, and now there's a lot of volume buying it back up. So there is a bit of reasoning here that we may actually see a bounce, and that this entire move was done to hit all these stop losses and liquidations. I think a lot of us had some positions open, and like you tried to log into BitMEX and you didn't have your lower orders in, and you may have been liquidated on a small position that you wanted to write to 20K, for example. So if we go back through the 3-day, what we're kind of seeing is that we dipped into, I'm going to switch to another chart, into this green box. And this green box has been our demand zone ever since the start of the bear market. It was our last touch at like 5,550 before we actually ran up to 20K. So it's very normal that if once we dip into this zone, there should be demand. And for me personally, what I would like to see, and to really confirm capitulation, is massive increase in volume from here on out to propel us back above at least 5.8 and hopefully $6,000. Because $6,000 has been this nice round number that we've all been talking, that kind of broke right now. So it could turn into resistance. If that's going to happen, like we could probably see another move down, way further down, probably to like 4.6K, where our real next support 4.8K, where our support is going to be. So it's difficult to say whether this is capitulation or not. But in general, you always have this move down at the end of a bear market where everyone gets shaken up, like where everyone is shaken out, and then we move back up. But I'm not gonna say that this is the case. It's difficult to say.
I mean, Bitcoin is now plus or minus 0% year over year. So we're at the same price we were 367 days ago. 365 days ago, we actually pumped back to 8K from this exact price range. So, excuse me. So there's a lot to look at here. And I think alts are more attractive from a buying perspective to me personally right now. Not so much, again, the big caps. I don't really care to have a lot of exposure to some of those right now. They're going to follow Bitcoin a little bit more closely, but certainly some of, like, you guys know I'm a fan of like Polymath and Storm and Encash. Those are coins I haven't even looked at since April. These are alts that I'm now interested in going to start exploring. I think a lot of them are at very bullish looking price action now that some of these divergences have been wiped out and things like that. For Bitcoin, though, how do you trade Bitcoin right now? Because right now, if you look, shorts just ticked up about 20%, which means that people right now are adding short positions at a 20% higher rate than they were before this dump. So people are trying to short a 11% red candle. That's typical, right? Typical move there. It's FOMO in the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. Is the move here to try to catch a short, or are you staying flat, or are you going to try to catch a long, be it by either buying spot Bitcoin or leverage your position?
Wow. The question is, and the answer is, I initially said that I would long the shit out of $5,550. That's literally what I said.
And it hit 5,555.
Yeah. And I would probably have placed orders below. But with like a week ago, I thought that we had a good chance to break 6,800. And that would have turned me incredibly bullish. We didn't actually get close to it. We didn't even reach 6,600. And then I didn't have my orders in. But it was a logical place to go long. Right now, I have not having I didn't catch that bottom. I'm gonna wait and see what's gonna happen. I want to see what's gonna happen once we get back. If we go back to 6K, whether it's gonna be a strong resistance or that is everyone who's going to try and short it is going to get wrecked because they provide liquidity to the bigger players once we actually get back to 6K. But I think it's very, very possible that this liquidity resistance at 6K is going to prove such a juicy place for people if they want to get past 6K. But that might only happen like after we actually go down to 5K. What is interesting if we look at Ethereum is what Ethereum did in this dump. Ethereum had a dump today from the daily open on Binance of around 7.5%, and it almost retraced the entire candle back. So there's a bunch of people that that really think that
people bought the dip.
They're buying the dip. That wick is insane. So like I do agree that alts actually look not too bad. The question is, what is Bitcoin going to do? If your alt is going to do well against Bitcoin and Bitcoin is going to dump a lot further, you're not going to make any USD. But if you're playing long term and you're really thinking that Bitcoin is going to go back up to 10, 20, I don't know how much K, you're eventually going to make money. So are you here to make money on the short term, or are you here to make money on the long term? For me, obviously, I don't need the money that I have invested in crypto today, tomorrow, or next year. It's there to make money over the next 10 years, and hopefully by then being able to be financially independent. So then when we look at the entire market cap, we had this breakout of this wedge, and everyone said, yeah, we'll have to retest it. And what we're currently doing, if we zoom in, the coin market cap is at about $189 billion. And guess where it bounced? It bounced on that downtrend from that falling wedge.
That's almost perfect. I mean, for those who can't see this chart, it's almost a perfect double bottom on the total market cap and a retest of that falling wedge that we all watched so carefully, right? And for me, my biggest problem with this was that it caught me so off guard because of the lack of volatility. I basically got complacent. Being kind of prepared, like, hey, I'm ready for a big move in either direction. And then the move happened so fast, I ended up not being ready for it. And so watching this gives me confidence in the total market cap finding some support here. Then the question becomes, will that support hold?
That's the big question. So what I'm currently going to do, I want to see a confirmation of this becoming an actual support. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to go lower, because our support is a downtrend, which means that over time, the support becomes lowered. So we have to also look at the horizontals, and we're currently at a horizontal double bottom support, which could prove useful. But capitulation usually dumps below the your low. So I kind of feel there's going to be, and that's what I'm going to prepare for in the next couple of days, that we're going to see another fake out move that's going to be bought up really quickly. So there's people currently buying the capitulation, but I think there might actually be another real capitulation upcoming, because everyone who's buying along right now is going to get wrecked by a next move.
I like to be pretty contrarian with my approach. Typically, that's how I found success playing fantasy sports or sports betting. I know Kyle has too. So I like to kind of try to go against the trend. The trend right now is opening shorts, but I also don't like to. I don't necessarily like to catch falling knives. I think it was Zach who also made another good point too, that 5,800 is now resistance, right? Support turned resistance. So long in resistance is never a good thing. But Kyle and Broski, I'm curious from you guys. Let's talk a little bit about what some of the questions that we've had. One person in particular is wondering, does this have anything to do with Bitcoin Cash, the hard fork? Does this have anything to do with what's been going on with that large market cap coin and Roger Ver and things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe there's any correlation between the Bitcoin Cash fork and this market sell-off. I think really this this sell-off was really just kind of centered around technicals. We had low volume trading. Bitcoin wasn't able to break out above 6,800. We were ranging here, and people just lost faith, right? And a big seller probably was the catalyst of this event. I don't think there's really any FA behind this event other than the fact that Bitcoin really couldn't break out of consolidation with any real support. I do think this is interestingly timed up with, I still fundamentally believe that the backed futures launch in early December is a very big deal for crypto as a whole. And so I'm wondering, so I always try and tie in, the psychology of an event like that and how that could affect the market. And what's been running through my head the past 24 hours is, I just had this feeling last night that this was going to occur. I didn't play it. I lost money, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I did anything special, but I just had a feeling. And what I was thinking about last night is, if Backed is launching in the beginning of December and they're trying to bring in all of these, investors and traders and buyers to their marketplace, wouldn't a creation of that market of that size and power, wouldn't they make the product as cheap as possible to entice people to come in that,
what are December futures right now?
I have no idea. I
haven't looked yet because I was too busy crying, but I think that plays a role, with exactly what you're saying, that cheaper product is going to be more attractive. And this is kind of summing up for this perfect, just like this, there's a lot that goes into a dump like this that could be looked at as bullish if you wanted to kind of put the blinders on and say that there's no way we're going to 3K. I mean, you can make the argument for that.
Dude,
but do you think what?
The December futures on BitMEX, they dumped to 5,200.
Oh my God!
They're currently trading at 5,600. So that's
a call all day in my book. I mean, December is a good month for crypto historically, especially. I mean, look back last year, and then with the FA that Backed provides, man, I think it's just teeing up as one of those hindsight longs where you're just like. But then again, like I finally switched bullish, and this is what happened. So who knows? Who knows? Did November futures play a role though? Because we've been watching futures closely, and there's been volatility around futures closing. So November futures closed today at 3:30 p.m. I think, and do you think, Jack, that played a role at all in today's price action?
Well, I don't really have my numbers ready, but from the top of my head, we've seen a lot of extensions in price action on closes of futures. So, for example, I remember a couple of months ago, CBOE closed, and like a couple of hours prior, we would see a move up or down towards the exact moment of the not a settlement, but the closing of the futures. And then directly after they closed, you would see a massive move in the other direction. And massive may not have been massive as, not like 20%, but like 5% maybe, which is a lot if you think about it, if that occurs within a couple of hours time. So I think there's a fair chance that we're going to see a little bounce up once the futures close at 3:30 p.m. CST. Yeah. The question is it going to run into resistance, or is what? And are a lot of people going to short it? And then the next question: once those shorts get filled, are they going to get screwed over? Are they going to fuel a short squeeze, and are we going to pop back into range like within the day? That's what that's what I want to know. A rejection of 6K
for the first time. I agree with you 100% as always. I think you had it spot on. But this is the first time after a big dump or a big red candle that I feel like everybody is like, all right, 3K. Like everybody I'm seeing in the last couple hours online has just gone full bear tart. And I think that's what you look for if you're trying to be contrarian and make decisions as an investor and as a trader. I think you try to kind of buck the trend. And so I don't want to be a bull tart here. I've been so good at being a bear. I finally got used to being a bear. and then I finally bought a bronze bull. And it's at the office and it sits on my desk and I rub it for good luck and I've been ready to go. And now I'm getting wrecked in that direction. And so I don't want to be a bull tart either, but I just feel like I still don't believe 3K Bitcoin is in play. Even though I believe 90%, even though I believe 90% of the volume in crypto is fake or, is not what it seems. That's a whole nother episode. But, I want to see what these. I think futures at 5,200 is a no brainer. I mean, I think December is going to be a plus month for Bitcoin. At the very least, I think it's going to be closer to a break even. I don't see 3K happening. Put me on record for that.
No, and I'm with you there. We joke around on the show how I was the in-house bear for Bravado. And then I recently,
you converted me.
Yeah, I could.
You're never allowed to switch. You're never allowed to switch back to being a bull.
Yeah. Well, what I did was I actually, I was bearish, then I turned bullish, and then now you see where we're at. So it's not the desired outcome. But when I was maintaining that bearish bias, I always kind of, and this is through like a conglomeration of a lot of different technical analysts in the space, and then my own technical analysis. But I always saw 4,800 and 5,200 as the bottom. Because that's where I think the ultimate liquidity would be achieved by taking the price to that region. And that's kind of what I was viewing as the bottom back then. So right now, like I said, I'm going to stay hedged for the next 24, 48 hours before I really expose myself in either direction. But I would say that I don't see, just because we broke 6K support, I don't see this thing going to 3K. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's bears asking for too much. And I really think that 4,800, 5,200 would be a place where I'm happy to go long at, especially if we break 5K.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to share my screen. So while I'm pulling it up, go ahead and say what you're.
I mean, the market sentiment shifts so quickly, right? I mean, yesterday it seemed like everyone was a bull and we're going to 10K, and today the dump happens, and now being the emotional little school children that a lot of people are, we're going to 3K. And, where will we end up? Who can say? All we can do is play the market as it lies and try to figure out the best move in any, any conditions. I think right now, for me, what I'm looking to do is try to get some ETH plays in on leverage while things are moving around the way that they are, just because there's some quick scalps that can be made. I find that, paper trading ETH, let's say on BitMEX, tends to be a little bit more profitable for me. The moves tend to be more profitable for a smaller amount of action. So that's really what how I'm going to look to play this until Bitcoin makes up its mind and picks a direction one way or the other.
Yeah. So Bitcoin has to retrace another 48% to hit 3K, right? Just to put that in perspective, as Kyle said, I think that's asking for too much. If we're looking, if this box here, basically, this block down here breaks, and it may very well break in the coming days, around, that low, that previous low was 50. It was like 57. I'm on too big of a time frame here. I'm on the daily, but it was 55.42. So that was November 12th, 2017, right? It was 55.42. And then we bounced here at 55.43. So, and this is on the BitMEX chart. So that's a obvious, very important number to watch. If that breaks down, I can see us trending lower into really the next, and my trading view is all messed up, so I don't have any volume indicators right now, which are pretty unfortunate. But basically into this next range, which is 4,900 to 4,700. I think that's the bottom. If it's not, if this isn't that capitulation candle that wicks back up, that's kind of how I'm playing it. But I did want to look at the altcoin market cap real quick. So I'm actually going to switch over to that, because that's something that people have been watching, and it's something that I obviously watch very closely. So I want to take a quick look at I kind of want to zoom out. One thing that my boy Ledger Charts taught me, as I learned some traditional TA from him in the last year or so, is to zoom out. And if you guys are looking at the altcoin market cap here, when we talked on Monday's episode, we were watching this 100 billion altcoin market cap level for key support that it had tested and held up a few times. But as you guys know, the more and more support is tested, especially in a downtrend, the more likely it is to break. And that's exactly what it did. We broke down past that previous 93 billion. That was kind of our middle range here, and all the way down to the low from September 19th. So on September 19th, we saw a low of $87.1 billion. And today we saw a low of $85.7 billion. So another kind of double bottom, if you want to look at it like that. What I'd be looking for is now in this much larger range. So this whole entire box here that you can see if you're watching the live stream, from that low, basically draw a box from about 110 billion down to 90 billion. And you can see that perhaps we're just in this large range that dates back to August 10th. We've swept both highs and lows of this massive range now 3, 4, 5 times. And that's something, that's something I wasn't really looking at before, is that these swings, we've seen these super volatile swings as recently as August on multiple occasions. So today feels really bad. Today feels like shit, actually. And I'm pretty on tilt. But we just saw this massive price sell-off across market cap. Let's see what this total dip essentially was. It went down 13%. We also saw a 13% pump 2 weeks ago. We saw a 13% dump at October 9th. We saw a 13, 14, 15% dump, September 24th, and so on. And you can see how many times that we've seen this exact range kind of be respected dating back to the beginning of August, which is kind of where we started buying alts again. We kind of thought that the middle of August, like August 13th, I specifically remember Dragon Chain hitting 12 cents on August 13th, because obviously community member here. Ever since then, we've just kind of ranged. It's been an aggressive range. It's been a 15% range in both directions. Today still fits within that range. And so until we start to see, I think, continued downward motion here in this range and start to kind of beat up support at $90 billion and just continue to hit support at 90 billion, then 90 billion breaks down, and then it's, it continues to lose weight and we continue to see no volume, then, all bets are off. I'll probably be stopped out of almost all trades midterm, just about everything besides my offline bags. So that's just a quick kind of walkthrough of those two scenarios. Questions, comments, concerns, bring them up.
Yeah, what do you guys have? Community, you guys out there, what are you guys thinking? How are you feeling about all of this? And we've covered a lot, speculated a little. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we also had a question from someone if this has anything to do with Tether FUD, or Tether in general. Originally before this dump happened, we were going to spend a lot of time today talking about kind of media and its role in the market right now, and how a lot of the Tether FUD, Tether FUD is originated with CoinDesk, which is owned by people who have vested interest in other stablecoins, things like that. So there has been a lot of Tether FUD. There's been Tether. We saw a negative price action on Tether as a result of Bitfinex increasing their withdrawal fees. So what do you think, Jack, Kyle? Did Tether or instability in that have anything to do with, or is this just low volume, sell off? The rest of the market came with it by default because it always does, and there's nothing else to look into. Is there a larger conspiracy at play?
I have a hard time. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I just wanted to point out the fact that it's curious to see today we have volatility, and then we see the premium on Bitfinex go up significantly again. So I'm gonna quickly switch to my screen. But we like a couple of weeks ago we saw the premium on Bitfinex go up to $1,000 compared to, for example, exchanges that do not trade with USDT as a pair. And then we came back all the way down, and we actually went to back to pretty normal levels around $15, and now we're back up around like $300. So that's, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, but what it does tell me is that people are somehow trying to get out of their USDT again, and they're using it to buy Bitcoin. There's no other thing that I want to say about that, but it's something that makes me curious, and it always happens in these volatile moments. So I don't know if you guys have any idea why that is. Please let me know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Someone just asked a question about Bitcoin Cash, something that we have obviously spoken a lot about, not particularly anything exciting outside of their rect, but I don't know if you guys saw that Bitcoin SV randomly took over the hash power battle. Not to switch gears here too much, but this is just a quick question. I didn't want to forget to address it.
I've got a thought on that.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, so yesterday, I don't know if, and this again plays into what we were going to talk about with media manipulation. Yesterday, there was a story that was released that there was a Bitmain shakeup, and Jihan Wu was actually moved from the executive chair position. And that actually, I think, was the precursor to the SV flip, if you will, in hash power, because they obviously both of these guys are battling it out. There's a lot of speculation as to which one's going to win, and when you get news like that, it is going to move the market, and it did. Right, it pushed things in SV's favor. So I want to do more digging, but I'd like to know where that story originated to see if that was something that was a PR move done by SV to damage ABC, because usually that's what happens, right?
True. I mean, it's literally fake.
Correct. Yep.
Literally fake news, and then we see that timely flip on the hash. Listen, I'm not betting against Jihan or Roger. I can't just watching the two in the space, watching Jihan and Roger, and watching Craig Wright. I can't possibly put my chips with Craig Wright. I simply cannot do it. So there is no way that Roger and Jihan don't come out of this in some capacity with some shit coin that they're going to claim to be the real Bitcoin. And whether that's Bitcoin ABC or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Cash 2 or Bitcoin whatever, maybe we should do it. Maybe we should fork Bitcoin, because anyone can, by the way. You can go fork Bitcoin right now. We should just call Bitcoin whatever. And then we'll just make that $1,000. No.
Well, I mean, guys, we've talked about a lot. Are there any other community questions? G has more power.
So staying flat here from a leverage play for me. I'm not buying the dip either. I still have chunk of fiat, and I'm just not ready to pull it yet. What about you guys? Follow or fade crypto right now?
Yeah, flat as can be for the meantime, and play it by ear. I'll have a better idea in the next 24, 48 hours, but right now, not trying to get.
I think for those of you out there who are on tilt like me, this is a good opportunity to just step outside work out, go do something, get back to work. If you're at your job right now, go enjoy your lunch, go treat yourself. Even fortunately for you, you have a job, unlike my unemployed ass. Now I got to eat ramen. It's not a meme, guys. When you live in this space, you do actually have to eat ramen when the market dumps. But I do want to say, on Friday, we have a very special show coming up. We have a special guest. Crypto Cred is going to be joining us. We need one of those. We need one of those soundboards where we can play like applause and things. Yeah. Can we get that in the budget?
There we go.
So we're gonna have Crypto Cred on the show on Friday. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to be doing a deep dive on 2 community coin picks. So I'm going to be tweeting at Bitcoin Birch later today. I'm going to be tweeting to get more votes for community coins, just like we did with Turtle Coin and Block Party and Unibright. So we're going to be picking 2 this time, so we can spend a little bit more time on them. And it's going to be me, Broski, and Crypto Cred tearing them apart for you on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central. So do make sure to tune in and see what we have to say about the shit coins that you guys vote on. Regarding today's dump, I'm sorry for those of you out there who were on the wrong side of the trade. That is part of the game. I'm right there with you, and we will get through it. We ain't going anywhere.
That's the truth.
Good note to end on, guys. Well, keep your heads up. Out, enjoy the fresh air, no matter where you are, and we'll be back on Friday to have some fun and talk.
Please make sure to sub to, hit the like button. Follow us on Spotify and iTunes. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you want to see. And very, very soon, we're going to be starting to give away some swag and some other things. So just stay tuned. We're going to be pumping out a lot more from this here YouTube channel from the Bitcoin Bravado team. So much love, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Take care, guys.